Welcome everybody to the first session of the Changemaker Companies Day. An opportunity to explore questions like, are companies aware of their potential to change the world for the better? How can they integrate social and environmental stakes into their core business? How can companies become drivers of positive change? My name is Maria Zapata, and the focus of my work in Ashoka is to support Ashoka Fellows think strategically how to scale their impact for positive change. I'm thrilled to be here with you today, hosting a great group of colleagues who will be sharing with us their experience bringing these two worlds together, social and business, for win-win collaborations. Let me briefly introduce them now. We have Neetu Kapasi, who is the leading public affairs of IKEA Retail India. Cristiana Serbanescu, who is the new business and innovations project leader at IKEA Purchasing Services. Estefania Russo, program lead of IKEA Social Entrepreneurship, DD. And finally, Albert Moller, an Ashoka Fellow, co-founder and executive director of Access Bangladesh Foundation. Let me quickly set the context here. Social and business co-creation as a collaborative win-win relationship has been at the core of Ashoka's exploration and learning for many years. We have catalyzed and supported many different collaborations over the years and have gained quite a few insights and know-how. Our key findings is that beyond the feeling good aspect of developing a stronger CSR positioning, there are actually many win-wins for both social entrepreneurs and corporates who engage in a win-win partnership. For companies, it helps them enter new markets and new population segments. It helps them create innovative new business models. It also helps them shift the corporate culture, leadership, and priorities to recognize the economic value in maintaining a double bottom line. It also improves their long-term business health because consumers are increasingly wanting to see companies hold themselves accountable to society and environmental improvements. And finally, it has become a very important aspect for employee retention and engagement. For social entrepreneurship, these win-win relationships, of course, expand the social impact for social entrepreneurs. It expands the social impact that they can have because it leverages the strengths that corporate brings, like how to work their operations at scale, as well as the investment in capacity to influence what they want to do. It also generates, of course, new sources of revenue for social entrepreneurs to expand their impact. And it also helps them develop new skills and knowledge through the process. For us, it's become super clear that as the world changes faster and faster and it gets more interconnected, it is impossible for just one entity to really create impactful social change. Rather, collaborations and cross-sectoral partnerships and fluid team of teams is what's really needed to advance social change. With this in mind, we embarked into a partnership with IKEA Social Entrepreneurship BV a couple of years ago, with a real intention to explore, support, and facilitate some of these win-win collaborations between social entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurs, and their co-workers. Stefania, over to you. Can you share with us a little bit more about this IKEA Social Entrepreneurship entity and why it was created like this?
Sure, Maria. So since 2012, we have partnered with social entrepreneurs across the world, delivering products and services to IKEA. And these social entrepreneurs, they provide job opportunities to people who are vulnerable, while also decreasing inequality and increasing inclusion. But we know that IKEA, using IKEA's sales channels to make social entrepreneurs' products and services available to customers is not the only way that we can support the social entrepreneurship movement. So in 2018, we launched IKEA Social Entrepreneurship BV to expand our support. We are essentially a hybrid between business and philanthropy. We use a range of different activities like accelerator programs and tools like grants and loans and equity to really support social entrepreneurs who may or may not partner directly with IKEA to scale their impact and, of course, provide greater opportunities for people who are vulnerable and marginalized across the world.
Thank you, Stefania. I have to say we were extremely surprised and happy to see IKEA's commitment to this field of social entrepreneurship. With your IKEA Social Entrepreneurship BV, reporting directly to the CEO, you were making a big stance into this in the corporate world. Your commitment to bring social entrepreneurs into your larger ecosystem was very evident. You were not here just to, follow the traditional way of doing, of just, hey, let me support this poor social entrepreneur that need my help. But you were really committed to find ways in which to support social entrepreneurs so they could become part of your ecosystem and value chain. Tell us a little bit more about that. And why do you think bringing social entrepreneurs into your ecosystem is important?
Well, firstly, because partnering and supporting social entrepreneurs, it's a way for us to lean on each other's strengths and learn from each other. So these learnings can be brought back to IKEA and help IKEA become a more inclusive and sustainable business. So in accelerator programs, for example, the one that we are currently running, the Dela program, we engage IKEA coworkers as coaches and mentors. And while they support social entrepreneurs develop a systems change strategy and start implementing it, they also learn what it takes to create long-lasting impact. In the end of the day, we know that together we can tackle the root causes of social challenges. In fact, that's the only way that we can tackle them.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Stefania. I think we are going to move to Albert. Can you share with us a little bit about this Dela program, the Dela Accelerator? How did it work for you? And what do you gain from it? What are some of the key outcomes?
Thanks, Maria. And I'm delighted to be here to share my experiences with Dela program. So first of all, I'd like to say very briefly about my organization. I am representing Access Bangladesh Foundation based in Bangladesh. And Access Bangladesh Foundation is working exclusively for the development of persons with disabilities since establishment in 2008. And my journey with the Dela program was really productive, if I say. And particularly the Dela program, I have learned, the techniques, how I can impact in greater way in Bangladesh, the ways, to scale up our work countrywide. So it was really fruitful for me to work with the Dela team and all the team members. So if I say very specifically, that the Dela program has influenced me, as we're working, since long, since 2008, but the Dela program has taught me, how I can work to impact more broadly for the persons with disabilities in a very systematic way. That is really important for me. And if I say that it was an opportunity to connect with all the possible resources and to connect with other network. So if I say that the Dela program was really very fruitful, and we gained a very remarkable work through this Dela program. If I say that we worked closely with the Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics or Planning Ministry, and we wanted to influence the Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics to make the upcoming census inclusive of persons with disabilities. From that ground, actually, we try to influence the government officials, and we worked a lot in consultation, in association with the thought partner, experimentation expert, Dela team, Ashoka team, and finally, we have seen some result of our work. If I give you an example, that we submitted a comprehensive proposal with specific recommendation to the government, and the government accepted, and they issued a letter in writing addressed to me. And if I say, the one recommendation they accepted, that they mentioned in my letter that they revised the questionnaire, census questionnaires according to our recommendation. And they engaged us in the training session so that we can train the data enumerators on disability inclusion aspect. They assign Access Bangladesh Foundation so that we can review all the publicity materials, promotional materials in line with the disability inclusion aspect. And finally, they incorporated and they involve Access Bangladesh and our partner organization in a meaningful way in all the all the committees related to the census. So if I say briefly that we were able to influence the dedicated government department like Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics, to accept our proposal to make the census inclusive of persons with disabilities.
That's
Maria.
great. Thank you so much, Albert. Nitu, over to you. What about you? How was your experience? And also important, why would you recommend other co-workers / employees to join such a program and to join such a win-win collaborations with social entrepreneurs?
Thank you, Maria, for having me here today. I would put my reply in 3 ways. I think number one, at IKEA and personally also I believe true potential of a leadership is unleashed when we go beyond the usual, when we do more than our role, when we learn new skills, we also contribute to other people's growth, take up assignments to test our own knowledge and competence and contribute to the business beyond the usual. And this is one philosophy which I have been almost following for more than 2 decades of my work experience now. I call it a 70-30 approach. 70% of the time goes in doing the normal, which your role demands or need, and the remaining 30 is which is contributed towards taking a stretch assignment. I would say Dela was one such stretch assignment last year to learn, influence, contribute, and support a positive change. Number two, I think when the world was engulfed with the pandemic and there was so much inequality all around us, taking Dala journey was very much like the silver lining, and it was also an energizer for myself to take time off and motivate myself beyond work. I was fortunate to align my needs to learn and support with Albert and his team and his mission. All I can say is that it was quite a transformative experience for me where I took back more than I could contribute in that program. And the third is I would also recommend all co-workers to follow 70-30 approach to really accelerate their personal and professional growth. And I would also say the other way, maybe that organizations should promote the 70-30 approach to give their co-workers a field where they can grow.
That's great, Nitu. Thanks so much for that. We'll definitely reflect on that 70-30 rule. Wonderful. Christiana, over to you now, because one of the things you do within your work is to map and develop partnerships with social entrepreneurs to develop products with IKEA. So tell us a bit more from your experience, how can a corporate leverage the work with social entrepreneurs? Why would you consider partnering with them? Sorry, Christiana, we can't hear you. Are you? There you go.
The mic. Okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you. No problem at all. Thanks.
IKEA wants to be the first choice for our customers and for our employees, obviously, when we're talking about sustainably sourced products, and also the products that should have a strong positive social impact. So I think the corporation will benefit through the engagement of both the employees and the customers. The employees could be those that work directly with the social entrepreneurs, like I do, for example, and my colleagues in other regions, and the employees that know about the corporation's commitment to social change. I can't tell you how many times I have discussed with colleagues or I have gotten questions and real interest in what we're doing and how they can contribute if there's anything they can do. The customers, obviously, will for sure have increased loyalty towards a brand and a company that demonstrates that we share their values. We are transparent, we are sustainable, we are sourcing products ethically, we are making sure that we look at both people and planet when we do the decisions to do sourcing in one area or another. So this, for us, it's a clear win-win in terms of developing the partnerships. And I'm referring to the actual reason behind it. And also, sometimes the cooperation, if it's widely known, will serve as a model for other corporations, and the impact is extended many times.
Yeah, that's great, Christiana. I do see that intention in IKEA to become a role model for others, and that's another reason why we are here today, just to showcase also to other corporates what are the benefits. But we are doing very good on time. Can you share? You have also been a participant of Dela. Could you share as well your own experience working with a fellow? How did that go? You know, what brought back to you? Just share with us a little bit more on that, please.
Yes. First, for me, besides the fact that I felt honored to be a part of such a great organization, I worked with the WOFAN, Women Farmers Advancement Network in Nigeria. The project, very briefly, consisted of a definition. Let's say the definition could be a systems change to reduce the poverty and malnutrition among women farmers and youth due to the lack of resources in agricultural training, in agricultural raw materials, and also in the way that women are treated in the respective area of Nigeria. For me, there's so many things. I think the first thing would be I have become, I think, a lot better at communication. And I mean in my own, how I communicate with others and also how I listen. I no longer assume that I understand or that something is obvious. It isn't. I struggled a lot to become better at explaining my thinking and not taking for granted that they understand what I mean or that I understand what they mean. When we worked on all these, we had a 1-year cooperation, so it was a long time. And then I think the best for me was definitely the fact that we got to be really close. So we started out by not really knowing how to cooperate and ended by being able to guess what we're going to say next and agreeing on pretty much all of the directions that we needed to take to come up with the result. And I'm very happy with the result.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. Nitu, you explained to us the 70-30 rule. Can you give us a little bit of an example of what you actually brought back to your work or your life by working with Albert and his team? What is it that, some specific examples that help us understand what it means to bring some of that experience back to your own life and work?
Sure. Like I said earlier, Dela experience was very much transformative. For me personally and professionally, it was also a stretch to build on my inclusive leadership through collaboration, co-creation, and compassion. I would say there are two parts of how anyone could experience Dela. One is the hardware, where you are using your knowledge, competence, and really experience to move a certain project or help the social entrepreneur. And the other is the softer aspect, where through your leadership and soft skills, you move and learn about the process and get transformed or move the agenda. I would say for me, what Dela meant personally or professionally, I would bucket in 3 ways. One was, working through the whole process for a few months with different teams and constellation. We all learn the power of perspectives, where every view is counted. We look at the problem from many aspects, and every perspective teaches you collaboration. Also, understanding the perspective and having a consensus precedes over the decision making, which is very important when you're collaborating and moving together as a team. Also, understanding the content and context of a problem through other person's eye or putting yourself in other shoe is very moving, because then you also challenge yourself and your knowledge in a different domain and dimension. It raises many questions and opens, many possibilities of what you can do as a team together. Second, I would say it was also about the power of inclusive process, going through the whole system change with Albert and his team and on the project, where every voice is heard. And as I said, the desire to have consensus precedes the decision making, but also it gives time and space for everyone to share, learn, and reflect. And you are not reflecting as a professional, but you're also reflecting as a personal, and it has a rub-off effect on many parts of your life. This process and knowledge is can be a very big way of stirring how we do co-creation across teams or on different topics. The third is also, the whole part of learning how emotional and human aspect impacts you as a person, the impact you have on others and others have on you. It also enhances our listening skills, make us more open-minded. You start seeking, as a group, a learning experience, but also a solving experience to get ahead in the process. And this care and listening with compassion and consistency of, viewing everyone on one page brings a lot of purpose in you and how you outlook towards projects. And last but not the least, I would add another one. It also teaches you the power of storytelling, how you can tell your story quickly in a sharper way, how you can share your project with others, help them come and associate themselves. And when you go through this, it's very inevitable that it has a rub-off effect on your personal and professional life. You come or become more authentic, more vulnerable, more open, accessible. And it's not only as a person, but also as a leader. You start using what you're learning and sharing with your team, and it makes you a better person and a leader in the end of the day.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think my team would love to have you as a leader. Albert, over to you. Now let's go and think from a social entrepreneur. What do you think would be the future of corporate and social sector collaborations? What are some of the characteristics that you envision in the future?
Yeah, Maria, it's a very good questions. But before answering, if I say that 2-3 years back, I realized that, as we are working exclusively for the people with disabilities, and particularly employment generation is one of our, prime area of our work. So what we do, we create employment for people with disabilities in Bangladesh. So, to create employment, if we work in a very strategic manner, definitely we have to work both in the supply and demand side. So supply side, we can mobilize, the technical vocational education and training institute, different development organizations of persons with disabilities, people with disabilities, all they can work in the supply side. But what about that? That you need to sensitize the demand side actors. So definitely we have to go and we have to work with the corporate sector, because they are the employment provider in our country or in any country. So definitely, 2-3 years back, I realized that definitely we have to work closely with the corporate sector, particularly for generating employment opportunity for young people with disabilities. And what we did, we create partnership with individual employers, different employers association, so that we can generate employment opportunity for people with disabilities. But now, working with Dela, and through this Dela program, I realized that in future we have to establish more partnership, more formal partnership, as well as strategic partnership with different sector, different nature of corporate sector, so that we can generate more employment opportunity for young people with disabilities. And another area, in Bangladesh, every corporate companies, they have a wing called corporate social responsibility. So under this corporate social responsibility, what they do, usually they invest money for poverty alleviation, education, employment, empowerment of women. So that is really very important. If we develop formal relationship with the corporate sector, definitely we can get benefit of the corporate social responsibility. And there will be a huge change countrywide if we properly utilize the corporate social responsibility mechanism in Bangladesh. And for that, we want to work more and more closely with the corporate sector. There are different sector, there are different unreached, untouched sector. So gradually, my plan is to reach different unreaching corporate sector, so that we can create a broader impact in Bangladesh, particularly in empowering people with disabilities.
Thank you so much, Albert, for that. Estefania, over to you. Now we have heard from Neetu, Christiana, and Albert their own experiences being part of these collaborations. But can you help us understand, in your view, what is the value that such collaborations bring to the entire of IKEA, not just to the personal co-workers, but more to IKEA as an institution, as a corporation?
Sure. Well, I could say specifically about the Dela program. Ashoka has been a pioneer in supporting social entrepreneurs scale their impact beyond their organizations through something that we call it systems change. And IKEA is a system, and it's nested in many other systems. So we too must learn how to think in systems and learn how to change them for the better. So I believe that the opportunity that this collaboration brings to IKEA coworkers like Neetu and Christiana to learn firsthand with social entrepreneurs who are changing the system, like Albert, is a good step in that direction.
Great. Christiana, I'm going to ask you a question now. What about the corporate value change? How do you think there is really a potential for a social entrepreneur to become part of the value chain for a corporation like IKEA? What do you think is needed? What do you think is missing? Tell us a bit more about that, because I'm sure you've been thinking a lot about it in your work.
Yes. Well, we have actually already, since we've started really putting a bigger emphasis on developing social entrepreneurs as IKEA suppliers, starting out small, maybe with a few items in a few collections, small volumes, going all the way in 1 year, 5 years, depending on the suppliers, to becoming global IKEA suppliers. So yes, I would say they are definitely part of our value chain. Granted, not very many, but I have high hopes that there will be more and more, especially now we have a few projects undergoing with food items. And food items are, in my opinion, obviously because I'm working with it, they are what will bring the biggest impact, really, both on the environment, I mean, responsible sourcing of raw materials, and also helping the people who are working with them, smallholder farmers, learning how to process and then selling the finished products to IKEA, I think will have a huge impact on many thousands of people. And then back to what I said before, hopefully set a good example for other corporations as well to contribute to leaving as much of the added value as possible in the country of origin, if at all possible. And then in terms of just, and this mostly, like I said, for food items where raw material is the material that is the endangered, if you will, part of the value chain. So the raw material, both growing and processing in the country. For suppliers that produce home furnishing articles like decoration, natural fibers, textiles, etc., we aim to teach them how to scale up to become really good in terms of competitiveness and in terms of performance, so that slowly they transition out from being only an IKEA supplier to being suppliers of many other customers. And we have several examples like this. So we are from the beginning looking at possibilities to partner with social entrepreneurs on all continents that show willingness and some capability, obviously, to scale up and become fully self-sustaining after a number of years.
That's great. Thank you so much. There is a lot of work to be done. I think I'm going to open the floor for anyone who wants to answer this question. For me, what do you think is needed for other corporations to see the potential and to see the opportunity ahead of us? We can continue organizing sessions like this, but what do you think if someone in the audience is actually able to create this change within the company? How could we facilitate that? Any ideas coming from any of you? And I'll let you think briefly about that, and I want to encourage the audience to share any questions you may have for the panelists. Please add them in the chat, and we will be opening the floor for your questions in a couple of minutes. Thank you. Over to you, my dear colleagues. Any ideas on how to encourage other corporates to explore the opportunity?
Maybe I can take that, Maria.
Go ahead.
Please go ahead. Me too.
Yeah, I think it is so much needed for companies to think and promote entrepreneurship in its culture and amongst coworkers, not to accelerate the business, but also to change its culture so that problems become opportunity and we start looking them with open eyes, open views, and really unleash the new potential of working together. Second, I would say also work culture must embrace empathy and compassion to build inclusive leadership, where not only you're growing your agenda and seeing what value can I draw from a program like this for myself, but it's clearly a way to help be a good force in the society and move an agenda in a more inclusive manner and contribute there. And third, I would say it's also a way to accelerate exponential growth, where you break away from a very silo thinking, which all organizations would face between their teams or functions or units or entities. How can we just break away the walls and come together, co-create, collaborate, and support each other? And I think a mark of a true organization or a leader is when you build agenda together, not only with your own co-workers or stakeholder, but also the external stakeholders, the society at large. You earn trust in the process and pass on the baton, create something or be part of creating something instead of holding it and seeing profit out of it. I think one has to really see purpose of why you be there. And the whole experience can be so enriching for you at a professional and personal level for both organizations and co-workers, I would say.
That's great. Thank you so much. What about you, Estefania? Did you want to add anything? What is your insights?
Well, I think all corporations are seated with so much wealth of knowledge about how to run successful businesses. And that knowledge can be transferred to social enterprises around the world to really help them succeed as well. So I think there is a lot of opportunity for corporates to really share and really empower those social entrepreneurs and their companies to also scale successfully like they do. And I guess to add to that, I think that corporates have a potential to become more of facilitators for change as well, by sharing their networks and making sure that the social entrepreneurs are connected with the right people and the right organizations to create the change that they want.
Wonderful. I don't think we have many questions, so I'm going to be taking advantage of that to continue the conversation with all of you. I think one thing that comes to mind is what made you sign up for this engagement? You know, why? We have heard a little bit what were some of the expectations, but you know, all of us are super busy, have very demanding jobs. So, you know, what made you? And the reason I'm asking this is because I'm sure we have a lot of employees in the call, and I want to give them that extra push to give it a try. So what would you say to someone when given this opportunity to engage into this collaboration? What was in your mind when you decided to apply? Christiana, need to.
Well, I can start. Since I was already working with the social entrepreneurship on the product side, it was sort of an obvious choice. I was given the heads up about the Dela program starting, and if I wanted to apply, and I applied within half an hour. This was actually for me a very different experience, really, and maybe the one I've been talking about more than my products, because it felt like exactly participating in something that is so big, trying to change the whole agricultural system in a country. It just feels like the impact that has the potential to be enormous. And first of all, being supported by my boss and by the department in IKEA, where Stefania is more involved, which has been amazingly I'm not, how can I say, holding our hands along the way to making sure that everybody is doing their best and is feeling comfortable about it. And if things are not working okay, that's okay. What can we do to make it better? Has been fantastic. So this, from my point of view, is one of IKEA's biggest strengths.
That's great. Nitu, anything to add? Otherwise, I think we have a question from the audience, but I wanted to also give you a chance to say anything.
Sure. Mm-hmm. I would say the reason, two things when I joined Dela. One was to really test my own and challenge my own knowledge, because Albert's project was very much needing the whole advocacy angle, the communication, how to put across his working with people with special needs into the mainstream. So that was my curiosity to say, where can I challenge my knowledge and competence? And the other was also curiosity to learn something new, to be in a different constellation of people working across. It was also curiosity to learn what is on the other side of IKEA supply chain, because you have colleagues from many entities and many projects and teams. So it was very much about what can I learn more, where can I de-learn something, where can I test myself. So I would say it's really challenging my own self and learn, and being open with my curious mind were two reasons to join Dela.
That's great. Thank you so much, Nitu. And we have a question that Christiana already touched upon from Airline, but I just wanted to also give you the opportunity to Stefania to mention. And the question is, how did IKEA create a work environment that workers could collaborate with social entrepreneurs? Is this idea of the 30-70 example that Nitu provided, is that supported by HR talent development policies? You know, how could this happen? What has IKEA done to make this happen?
Well, I guess Christiana need to fill in, but I can start. Well, entrepreneurship is a core value at IKEA. So every IKEA coworker is encouraged to find the best setup to really develop their competences. And it's really an agreement between the coworker and the manager. I think Nitu mentioned that she needed to check with her manager, and that's it. If there is enough opportunity to engage during your work hours, you should. This is part of not only your development, but the development of your team and the organization as a whole.
And I can add, looking at the question, that of course it's okay if a collaboration fails. I have a little example myself of this. It started out really well, but then after a year and a half of working together, we determined that the partner had no real either capability or interest to scale up, and we decided in common agreement to end the cooperation. It was a learning opportunity for all of us. They have now actually become bigger without us, which is great. And we have become better at assessing from the beginning who we think will be the best partners to focus on. But yes, the atmosphere and the support in IKEA, and I don't mean HR, I mean pretty much everybody, is quite amazing. I mean, one of my biggest, how can I call them, new actions, let's say, is to try to push as much as possible for existing regular IKEA suppliers to become involved in developing their own little branch of social entrepreneurship within the company, to be able to, for example, I'll give you a very brief example, use waste material from production, like pieces of wood, to make articles that we can possibly sell in the store. And the people who would be making them are marginalized, vulnerable people in the respective community where the factory is, that are not able to work in the factory for various reasons, disability, 5 children at home, many reasons. And this is something that we want to really promote to all our suppliers. Not all will be able to do it, but good examples work better than anything in my experience.
That's great. Thank you so much, Christiana. It was wonderful to have this time with all of you. We hope we also share with you this insight that we have in Ashoka, that it really all starts with empowering employees as change makers and change agents. Equipping employees with the right entrepreneurial soft skills, experiences where they can work with social entrepreneurs, will help them to see differently and to do differently. And this will lead to a critical mass of employees seeing and doing differently towards an everyone a changemaker world. As we have heard from Nitu and Christiana and Stefania, these changemaker employees bring back new management styles, new communication styles. They are better managers and better leaders for the teams. They bring back new business models. They have a much better understanding of the others. And many of them are actually leading their way into some entrepreneurial projects. We really hope we have convinced you to actually just take the chance and engage in any opportunity you have to work with the social entrepreneurs around you. We really hope you have found this session helpful, inspiring, useful, to really engage in these win-win collaborations. And we invite you to join the session coming up after this one around how smart businesses are increasing social impact by partnering with social innovators. And we are going to be showcasing 4 case studies. After that, we will continue the conversation during the networking and connection session. Thanks again for joining us, and hope to see you soon in that session after about an hour. And thanks again to my partner colleagues in this panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.